Hey, Jaya here, whoever that is, because I don't know. Do you know? I want to talk about self-inquiry, self-inquiry. Who am I? It's so natural for the mind to go out. The mind has to distance itself in order to perceive time and space, duality. If there's only one, then things can't be compared. Like they call it the interrelated opposites. If everyone was beautiful, we wouldn't be able to truly recognize beauty. So according to the teachings, the perennial wisdom, as it's referred to sometimes, the baseline of every religion is essentially that there's the oneness, the spirit of all things, God. And through that came the birth of all these myriad forms and experiences and changes. Out of the changeless was born the changeful state, the universe that we find ourselves existing in. And so it's the nature of mind to compare and contrast and analyze, and it's by nature it's always moving, and it's always moving outwards. And the path of self-inquiry is actually turning the mind on itself. So in a way it's the ultimate question. Who am I? Or what am I? Because it brings it back to the most fundamental thing, the awareness, the consciousness that is experiencing, that is behind the five senses, so to speak, that is behind the thoughts. It's the space from which the thoughts emerge, from which the capacity to see and hear and touch and taste emerge. And so through this practice, in a way it can stir up a lot of activity in the mind, but ultimately it starts to bring space. Because it's one of those questions that doesn't really have an answer. It's not about finding an answer, which is what the mind really wants. That's why it might stir up the mind at first, because the mind wants to be able to sink its teeth into a conclusion. And when the mind is turned towards itself, that's not really, from my experience and from the beings whose teachings I understand, there is no end point. It's just the space of the question itself. So on the practical level, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, who was his main teaching, his cardinal teaching was self-inquiry. And so he would say the way to practice it would be to, as each thought arises, to just say, to whom does this thought arise? And then the answer naturally would be, to me. And then the subsequent question is, well, who am I? Or what am I? Oh, I think I should eat dinner. To whom does this thought arise? To me. Who am I? Oh, I wonder if this is going to happen. To whom does this thought arise? To me. Well, who am I? and to feel the space of the question, which takes some practice. It's not about just kind of repeating a mantra or something, which can be helpful and is a different technique. But it's about just being in the richness of the question, the open curiosity. It's like being like a child, being like a baby. Just not giving the mind its immediate satisfaction of an answer. Who am I?